All right. Hello, everybody. Mr. Raff here. Feeling a little bit better now, so I'm going to take you all the way home. So, we're going to talk a little bit about why plastics are such a problem, um, what their effects are on us and our world, and what we can do about it. All right. So, to get started, we're going to talk about some problems with plastics. And problem number one is that these polymers of plastics. Um, they do not break down. So when we put them in a landfill, right, they can be there for up to 1,000 years, um, and all they will do is just take up space. Um, and as these plastics are sitting in the landfills, right, they'll contaminate the water system. So as the water um, trickles through the landfill, some of the water absorbs parts of those plastic chemicals, and those plastic chemicals, right, seep into the water and go through our water system. So um, plastic chemicals can be absorbed by our body, not just animals, but also ourselves. And there's a study that found that 93% of Americans age 6 or older would test positive for BPA in their body. BPA is a plastic chemical that otherwise um, no human before we had invented plastic would test for BPA. And we produce an unbelievable amount of plastic. It's almost too hard to fathom, especially since we don't see it in our day-to-day life. So 300 million tons of plastic each year. Again, hard to fathom. Um, it's just an incredibly high amount. 50% of those 300 million tons are single-use purposes. So these are plastics that we're using once, and then we're not recycling. We're not getting a second use out of them. All right, so some more problems with plastics. Right, there's enough problems here that we have more than one slide. So making plastics uses a lot of oil, which if we're using oil, that's a lot of pollution. 8% of the world's oil is used in just making plastic. That goes into the actual plastic materials and chemicals that comes from crude oil, as well as transporting plastics from one place to another, and the energy needed in order to make plastics. Um, it's significantly cheaper and uses significantly less energy to recycle than it does to make new plastic. Um, and again, plastics are horrible for the environment. You'll see in a video coming up about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. That's one of 5 giant gyres in our ocean. These big, massive piles of garbage. Um, the one off the coast of California in the Pacific Ocean, not close enough that you could see it from a beach, but it is twice the size of the state of Texas. Right, and this plastic litter kills about 1 million seabirds a year and 100,000 marine mammals. This doesn't include any fish that would be killed, right? Because I don't even know how we would measure that. Um, and us as humans, we are not handling our plastics responsibly. The average American throws away about 185 pounds of plastic each year, right? And when I say throw away, I mean you're putting it in the trash can or a dumpster where it would go to a landfill or be burnt. Um, it's not the ideal ways that we want to handle our plastics. Um, we throw away, right? Not recycle, not use, but we throw away into the trash 35 billion water bottles a year in America, right? Do you use plastic water bottles all the time, or do you have your own water bottle? Right? And more than 500 billion plastic bags, right, the plastic bags that you might find at the grocery store, are used each year. Right? More than 1 million plastic bags are used a minute. These are some pretty alarming, um, alarming information. All right, so want to go through and play a video for you here. Um, we just mentioned plastic bags and how we produce so many of them. Um, one of the worst things that you can do is to try to recycle a plastic bag in your at-home recycling bin. Right? Plastic bags are actually like the number one pain for a recycling plant, and we're going to take you through this video in order to see, right, first-hand experience of what happens to a recycling plant when there are plastic bags being recycled.
New 6 tonight, recycling mistakes. Many people throw their plastic bags into their recycling bins. The news station's Robert Guadarrama shows us what you should be doing with them.
Don't put bags or plastic film into your recycle bin.
That's the message Orange County's Solid Waste Department is trying to send residents. And this is why. Plastic bags jamming the equipment at the recycling facility.
Those big film plastic and bags get wrapped around the machinery at the recycling sorting plant and cause it to get shut down.
The county says the plant has to be shut down for hours at a time, costing money and slowing down the process.
The machinery is not set up to separate that material.
The problem? Residents are throwing plastic bags in with their recycling.
It is our #1 contaminant in our recycling stream is plastic film and plastic bags.
So the county is launching a campaign to educate the public about what can be recycled using these door hangers.
So what do you do with those plastic bags? Well, most major stores have recycling bins like this right out front.
On each one of these door hangers, there is a website, and at the website you could enter your zip code, and it'll point you to the nearest recycling location.
More than 200,000 hangers will be distributed over the next month. Reporting in Orange County, I'm Robert Guadarrama, Fox 35.
Alrighty, so just to review a couple things, you can see just here on the picture that the damage that the plastic bags going through a recycling plant can cause. And they say it can shut down the recycling plant for up to 2 hours. Right, quite a big deal. And think about all the plastics that aren't being recycled and how much time and money is being wasted throughout that process. And the guy in the video showed you where we can appropriately dispose of our plastic bags. So if you do have plastic bags, you want to take them to a local grocery store. They'll have bins out front, whether out front outside of the store or in the front part of the store. You can always ask an associate and they will point you in the right direction. I know the Kohl's in West York recycles garbage bags or plastic bags as well. Alrighty, so please think twice before putting your plastic bags in the recycling bin. All right. So what can we do as responsible members of our community? How can we help with this plastic crisis? And so #1, we got to think, right, in your day-to-day life, how much plastic are you using, right? And how can we cut down on that? So you want to try to avoid using single-use items that will only ever be used once. Maybe very small containers for toothpaste or shampoo, a plastic bottle that you would then throw away. You want to make sure that we're recycling these so we can get more than one use out of that plastic material. Right? Maybe you want to carry around a flask or a different water bottle that you can use every day in school instead of using a new water bottle every single day. Right? When going to the grocery store or any store in particular, ask for a paper bag instead of a plastic bag. That can make a big difference. And you can reuse that paper bag over and over and over again. Cook more, right? I'm sure you've noticed when you go out to eat, you're given all of your food in these plastic containers to keep them warm. And maybe you might use those containers to take lunch one day. But on average, we're ending up throwing a lot of those plastic containers away. So the more you cook at home, right, the less plastic you are responsible for using. And when you do go to the grocery store, try to buy food in bulk if possible, because the more food you can buy in your package, the less plastic is being used. And when you do sort your garbage, make sure you're recycling properly. So on each plastic container, and we'll go through this, there are little triangles with arrows. I'm sure you're familiar with them. But we in West York can only recycle plastics numbers 1, 2, and 5. So if there's any other number inside of that triangle, you cannot recycle that piece of plastic. Right? Make sure you're taking plastic bags to the store and not in your recycling bin. And the big thing, when in doubt, you need to throw it out. All right, so we're going to go through a couple scenarios of what you can and cannot throw away. I want you to answer that to the best of your ability. And remember, when in doubt, throw it out.
PA Now was invited into the North Central Saskatchewan Waste Management Corporation to see how recycling is done and see the newly released recycling guide. President and CEO of Crown Shredding, Jack Shaw, spoke about what's acceptable in the blue bins.
Put together what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable. You'll be able to see it on the flyer, of course, but it always pays to do a visual. So what we're doing here is running this single stream material over the sorting platform. We're pulling off deposit containers, cardboard, any contamination.
Once the recyclable materials are sorted, they are brought into the baling machine by a bobcat. After being compressed, the piles of recycling end up in bales. The MRF staff hope the new recycling guide will make the recycling process even better. With PA Now, I'm Kayla Brooke.